Hi, I'm Megan. Welcome to today's live reading of When Grifters Come Calling by Cynthia Hamilton, presented by Itsy Bitsy Book Bits. Join me. Chapter 1. Mike paused outside the partially closed door to Madeline's office. From what he overheard of the three-way conversation via speakerphone, he knew his wife had received unwelcome news that would impact the two events current affairs was putting on over the weekend up in Santa Ynez. Don't worry about a thing, Lauren, Madeline said as Mike poked his head around the corner. Just take care of yourself. Everything's falling into place perfectly on both events. Jessica has already checked in with all the vendors, and I'll be there to cover for you. Let us know if you need anything. Making eye contact with Mike, she signaled for him to come in while she wrapped up the call. Catching the silent communication, Jessica turned around to look at Mike. He could tell neither of them were thrilled about what they'd just learned. Thanks, Maddie, Lauren croaked via the speaker. If her voice was any indication of how she felt, she was in pretty bad shape. I'm so sorry this had to happen now. Don't be. It's not something you could help. Just take care of yourself and let me know how you're feeling on Monday. After receiving a raspy thank you, Madeline ended the call, her eyes on Mike's. Strep throat, she said preemptively. Jessica picked up on Mike's uncharacteristic reticence, which she took as a cue to make herself scarce. That's too bad for Lauren, he commiserated as he sat down where Jessica had been sitting. Madeline nodded, not relishing the fact that she would have to step into a role she had stepped away from years ago by overseeing the two events Lauren put together. But since both events were up in the valley, one of them a fundraiser sponsored by Current Affairs, it felt like the right thing to do. She scanned the notes for each event on separate computer screens, which included all the vendor info and the list of what they would be supplying. Mike fished his phone out of his shirt pocket while he watched her eyes rove from one screen to the next, jotting down reminders to herself. Madeline observed his actions out of the corner of her eye while she tried to come up with an alternative to making two round trips up to Santa Ynez over the weekend. It was times like this when she seriously thought about selling Current Affairs to Lauren. She would certainly miss the revenue it generated, but sometimes peace of mind was more valuable than a high bank balance. When Mike started tapping on his cell phone, her irritation got the better of her. I need to figure this out, she said, his cue to give her some space. I think I have a solution for your biggest issue, he replied, earning a dismissive huff from his wife. Oh, really? She said doubtfully. Did you find a place that makes clones overnight? Mike smiled at her sarcastic reply and then handed her his phone. What's this? Mike watched as she found out for herself. You booked a room at the Figueroa Mountain Inn? Madeline asked, her expression both surprised and touched. When Mike nodded, she said, I can't believe they still had anything available. Reading the look on his face, she knew there was more to the story than him being incredibly lucky at the last minute. It was meant to be a surprise, Mike admitted. Well, I'm certainly surprised, she said, her laugh verging on giddy. When did you book this? I made the reservation last week. Since I knew Current Affairs had two back-to-back events up in the valley, I had a hunch being close by in case any glitches arose would ease your mind a little. When Madeline continued to stare at him, he said, Okay, it was a handy excuse to get out of town for a couple of days. When was the last time we did that? Madeline couldn't argue against the point he was making. She looked back at the reservation, noting it was for 2 nights. Anticipating her next question, Mike said, They have a 2 night minimum. Madeline's guarded expression gave way to a grateful smile. After looking back at what he reserved, she asked, A two-bedroom cottage? That seems rather extravagant. Everything for this weekend was sold out online, so I called the hotel directly. Someone had just canceled their booking for that cottage. I was lucky to get it. That's going to work out great for me, not having to make 4 trips over the pass, but I'll be working for a good bit of the time, Madeline pointed out. I got a tea time for both days at Elysial Ranch, so I'll be playing golf while you're busy with the events, he admitted, getting a knowing smirk from his wife. So that's what's really behind this impromptu mini vacation, Madeline ribbed him. Not true, Mike protested with a grin. I just booked those tea times when I found out you were being called into duty. The smile spreading over Madeline's features warmed his heart. So, she said as she surveyed the paper strewn across her desk. Mike took his cue and pushed himself out of the chair. Let's try to get out of here before 6 o'clock today. We'll definitely get away earlier than usual, she promised, but I've got at least 2 hours of work I need to finish before we head off on our romantic weekend. I like the sound of that. Mike beamed at her. I have a few things I've got to take care of too, but for the life of me, I can't remember what they are. Madeline knew he was just kidding, but it made her smile that they could both get excited about a spontaneous weekend away after all their years together, which covered the span of years before and after her 12-year marriage to her notorious ex. Finding each other again during the most frightening and painful period in her life was proof that love conquered all obstacles. She let out a grateful sigh and then brought her focus back to work.